Okay, what's going on, everybody? Tonight, Wednesday, April 15th. You got to realize something. You got to realize something. How many of you are still trying to figure out your New Year's resolution? And you don't realize that it's already April 15th. It's the last day for taxes. I hope you got your tax information in order so that you can receive the refund that you've put in the money to the government all year. But today I want to talk about something that I think most people definitely know about, but really don't understand the power of the system. And one of the things that I realized that in this country, when they're trying to deflect you from what's really going on, they increase the narrative for what's going to distract you. And so with humans, and this is something I'll discuss later, with humans, our minds shift to things that are so trivial sometimes that we don't even realize that we're being bamboozled by the system. And so we can just look at, different situations and we can see how once we come out the fog that we've been bamboozled. But anyway, that's a whole nother episode. But I want to thank you all for joining me this evening on House Calls with your man, Dr. Rory T. Edwards, in the building. And so what I want to talk to you about tonight, I want to ask you something. What if I told you there was a system that doesn't need you to win in order for it to survive, right? What if I told you that system actually works better when you keep losing? Some of you might know what I'm talking about already, right? Not because you're not smart, not because you're not capable, but because you were taught to believe that one lucky moment can replace a lifetime of structure. That one lucky moment, that one shining moment can replace a structure of lifetime. So today we're not talking about the lottery, we're talking about hope without foundation and how one of the most normalized systems in our culture is quietly conditioning people to chase outcomes instead of building capacity. So I said I wasn't going to talk about the lottery, but psych, I'm going to talk about the lottery because I want to give you a diagnosis. Because what I've done is, as I go into stores, and let me say this off the top. I'm not here to criticize anybody who plays the lottery because I have played it a time or two. I also believe that since I didn't play it, the odds might be in my favor and that I might win that big money. But it's not something that I do on a consistent basis. But when I go into a particular store where I live, I see the same people in there, and most of those people are giving their last money up for the chance at one shining moment. And we look at that and we look at, people are saying, well, I'm going to pay $7 for lottery. I'm going to put $13 in my car for gas. So instead of you putting $20 in your car for gas, you can get back to work more often. You're going to have to hustle to make sure that you have enough gas to get back and forth to work. But you're taking that one shot at that one shining moment that you could be that person whose numbers are called. And then we look on social media and we see there's a whole bunch of people who are telling you there's a system that was created that you can, at every time, if you utilize this system, you'll be able to get 4 numbers minimum, money back guarantee. Now, if there was a system really in place, it would shut down the lottery system ASAP. But people believe there's a system and people are actually signing up for that program. But let me give you the diagnosis from the doctor's perspective. The lottery isn't the problem, it's the psychological effects behind it. Because the systems like this are built on 3 things, right? They're built on 3 things: emotional urgency, mathematical ignorance, and a delayed disappointment. The system doesn't sell numbers, it sells escape, relief. This might be my moment, that one shiny moment. But what it quietly removes you from is this: discipline, process, ownership of your path, and over your time. You stop building your life and start waiting for it to happen with the mere fact that I'm going to win that lottery. How many times you go in there and you play the lottery, you say, I'm coming back to give you something because these numbers are going to hit. This is my day. Do you realize that there's millions of people across America that are saying the same thing? It's my turn. It's my numbers. It's my day. So let me talk about this, the illusion of arrival. People don't play lottery for the money, but most people say, yes, I do. I play it for the money. They play for what they believe the money will fix. That's what they play for. They don't play for the money because most people who are playing never, ever had any indication of how much money that is, and probably can't spell what that money, what you're going to do with that money. But what they play for, they believe that the money will fix peace, freedom, respect, and relief. That's what they believe the money will pay for. Peace, freedom, respect, and relief. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. If you don't have structure before money, you won't have stability after it. Let me say that again. Because the truth most people don't really want to hear is if you don't have structure before the money, you won't have stability after it. That's just a fact. If you look at the people who have played the lottery and you look at some of the numbers many people who played the lottery and won are all back in the same situation they were before they played the lottery. Because nothing external can organize an internal life that has no foundation. So this is what happens. You start chasing moments instead of building systems. You start chasing moments. You figure, like, if I get down to the store, I got to get in before they draw tonight. That's my moment. And you're not building a system. What you're doing is you're chasing that one shining moment, right? So let me give you a reflection prompt off of that. What in your life are you waiting to hit instead of building daily? So if you take time off to go play the lottery and analyze these numbers and mathematically put the numbers together, look at all the people who are significant in your life and add their birthdays and add the days that, were significant to you, and you put that in and you don't win, you see how much time you're wasting in building your own kingdom? You see that, right? So what in your life are you waiting to hit instead of building something today? So let's talk about discussion point 2. The addiction of possibility. The most dangerous thing about the lottery is not losing, it's that you almost feel like you could win. Like I said, when people go in the store, what they say? I'm going to come back and take care of you because these numbers are hot, I haven't played, yada, yada. They say a lot of things, but they believe that they could win. The feeling keeps you coming back. It does. And at the same time, the mindset shows up in real life. You're waiting for the perfect opportunity to say that you won. You're waiting for someone to recognize you because you won. And you're waiting for something to break your way because you can say, I won. But instead of asking, what am I building that makes the outcome predictable? Because winners in life don't rely on possibility. They rely on repeatable systems. That's what they do. When somebody finds something that works for them, they continue doing that system. They don't wait on something and say, I'm just going to go and play the lottery and hopefully I'll win. But they built a system that's been successful, and they look at their system and they look at the outcomes of their success, what they define as success, and they say, I'm going to keep doing this. And what do people say? I'm going to keep doing this until it breaks. That's what happens. So let me give you another reflective prompt. What are you relying on, or why are you relying on hope instead of structure? Why are you relying on hope instead of structure? Because you've been conditioned to believe that you have an amazing chance of winning. When I don't know the exact numbers, but some of you can Google those numbers and find out that you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning 3 times consecutively than winning lotto, right? But let's go to the discussion point number 3, the durability gap. This is where it all connects because the lottery mindsets expose something deeper. It's called the durability gap. It's part of my Empower 9, which we've gone through the last 9 weeks. It's part of my Empower 9 process. The durability gap, what happens is we've built a culture that celebrates outcomes, right? This is what the durability gap reveals. A culture that celebrates outcomes but ignores emotional regulation, identity stability, long-term adaptability, and mental endurance. So people chase wins because they cannot sustain success. That's the gap. You achieve success, but you cannot sustain it, right? And the system, like the lottery, they feed it to you. They keep feeding it to you. They put those numbers up. You're driving on the highway and you're driving by a big sign that says it's $67 million. And your mind goes in automatic overdrive and says, what could I do with $67 million? Because they train your mind to receive that one shining moment. So you all know where I took that from, right? Yeah, but if you're a March Madness fan, you heard that one shiny moment. But you don't need development. What you just need is a moment to understand what your mind is doing to you and telling you. So let's go back to another reflection problem. If success showed up today in your life, would you be able to sustain it? If somebody knocked on your door and says, guess what? Your number's been pulled and you have won $100 million. And you have 48 hours to do something with that money. How would you make a difference in people's lives? How would you make a difference in your life? Would you go out and buy materialistic things that Mother Nature can destroy in the same amount of time that you have to make a decision? Or what would you do with that money? I want you to think about that. That'd be a great opportunity for you to send me some responses in this chat. Send me some responses. If you had $100 million and you had 48 hours to do something with that money, what would you do? And would you be able to sustain that success? So, in closing, this is what I want to say. Stop waiting for your life to hit. Stop waiting for your life to hit. Start building a life that holds. Because the real win is not something you gamble into, it's something you construct. And I talk to people all the time and I say, this exact situation is like the story of the 3 little pigs. We don't realize how valuable those fables that we had in our early years were very important. And I use the 3 little pigs story because that's exactly, if it's something you gamble, build something you can construct. Brick by brick, decision by decision, day by day. You don't need lucky numbers. What you need is a standard for what you can stand on, a foundation for what you can stand on. Why? Because today's diagnosis is simple. You were never supposed to rely on chance when you were built for choice. Built for choice. You have the ability to make a choice. The only 2 choices in life you don't have is who your parents were and your family is, or the day you transition. Wow. Everything else you have a choice to make. So I would say just make that choice and make the decision and make the ability to be able to not bank on that one shining moment. This has been your man, Dr. Rory T. Edwards. I appreciate you for checking in, my young cousin, Kyrie Edwards Sr. Blessings and checked in. Thank you very much. And for all those who listen and all those who will listen, this has been House Calls with Dr. Rory T. Edwards, and I will be back next week with a similar situation that we have to do to now change the trajectory of how we think, how we act, how we behave. So until we talk, and until our spirits are blessed and our paths are crossed, I want to say Ashe, be well.